Darth Vader was the fearsome Sith Lord that brought an end to the Clone Wars and instilled Sidious's regime of fear and tyranny. But what would have happened if at the end of the war, Vader instead chose to join with the Separatists? Okay, so for this theory, we're going to be saying that Vader is sent to Mustafar as he is in our timeline. However, Obi-Wan and Padme get there first. Padme is still killed, and the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan still happens, as it did in our timeline. However, the Separatist Council are not killed. Instead, they find Vader's charred body and evacuate him with them. They quickly come to realise that Sidious means to have them killed as their loose ends. For this reason, they come to Vader with a proposition. He joins them and kills Sidious. Now, it's most likely Vader would refuse, however, there's still a very slight chance. Remember, Padme is dead. Ultimately, Sidious failed and lied to Anakin about the only thing he cared about, and although he did continue to serve him in our timeline, I believe that if the Separatists were to have found him, that there is the very slim chance that he would have chose to join them and exact revenge against Sidious. So for this theory, we're going to be saying that Vader joins the CIS. He decided that he can't trust Sidious, that he betrayed him. Therefore, he agrees to join the Separatists, who take him back to one of their various holdouts, and build him his own new cybernetic body. Now, at this point, there are going to be some pretty big differences in the timeline. The droid army isn't shut down and continues to fight in the Clone Wars. Although, without any real leadership, the Separatists can do nothing with that army aside from bide time. The Separatist Parliament will be left powerless, and the Council realise that this war is futile. The Council would probably sit tight in their safe house for now in the far outer rim. Meanwhile, they would order a scorched earth campaign for their droid units, destroying anything of worth on Separatist worlds that they still hold. Meanwhile, their fleets would likely go to meet the Tycoons, packed with riches and munitions to keep them comfy and ready to fight in case the Empire does turn up. However, they now have a very angry Sith Lord to deal with. Now, what Vader's going to actually look like in this scenario is difficult to say. However, I believe that he would be far more like Grievous than the Vader in our timeline. Maybe with a combat programming wired into his brain, making him even more deadly. The relationship between the Council and Vader is going to be tenuous. Vader doesn't like the Separatist Council, he's just spent the last 3 years fighting them. But he will be aware that he needs their resources in order to kill Sidious, and he's going to be pushing them to attack. However, the problem is, the Separatists just don't have the vital resources needed to do this, and Sidious is going to be hunting them down relentlessly. Thankfully, Sidious now has the rest of the galaxy to deal with, so he's going to be pretty busy putting down Separatist worlds and numerous rebellions, not to mention restructuring the entire Imperial military, so the Council can actually begin to make plans. With all their resources, they can head to wild space and colonize a new world and begin building their new military to take down the Empire there. Realistically, they'd find a world that wasn't known, enslave the natives, and begin creating factories to build new droids and ships and munitions. Meanwhile, they can use agents to espionage the Empire, and sow seeds of rebellion in the known galaxy. The Separatists, at the end of the day, they know a lot. There's a reason Sidious needed them dead. They know about the Death Star, and they'll have probably made the link between Sidious and Palpatine. So, by revealing this to the galaxy, Sidious is going to be busy dealing with public outcry. And this will ensure when the Separatists do return, there are going to be people willing to support them. Now, this new army would be very different to the one that we saw in the Clone Wars. Vader, being the only one really experienced in military operations, would put an emphasis on higher quality. We know that he was a fan of the commando droids. He would also require faster and better armed fighters. The Council would probably not like this as it's all far more expensive, but Vader is basically their only hope at this point, so they'll do what they must. Now, Vader at this point is going to be very difficult to speculate on. It's possible that he will still be a Sith, and be increasing his power of the dark side, driven by his hatred of the Jedi and Palpatine. However, it's possible he would regret his actions, and would return to the light side. Here, he would be driven by a sense of duty and desire to return balance to the Force. If this was the case, he may well have reconnected with other Jedi who survived the Purge and began to rebuild their order. Eventually, possibly around 5 to 10 years after Sidious's rise to power, the Separatists would be prepared, assuming that they weren't discovered and wiped out of course, and this would be pretty amazing, the new Confederacy fleet emerging from the unknown regions, and wild space with Vader either as the menacing Sith Lord or redeemed Jedi at the front of the charge. It would be very unexpected and would take the Empire by storm. It's important to remember at this point, the Empire would not be as powerful as it was in our timeline because of all of the insurrections that the people would be causing over Sidious's identity, and other mistrust sown by Separatist agents. However, the Imperial military would still be huge, but as we know, it significantly had dropped in quality from the years of the Clone Wars. So Vader, who is a brilliant tactician, and his high-quality droids would probably be running rings around the inferior stormtroopers and Imperial hot-headed commanders. It's difficult to say who would actually win the war. Realistically, I believe that if Vader was still a Sith, I don't think it's likely. I believe Sidious would find a way to fight him in single combat and win. Sidious was the more powerful Sith, arguably. His connection to the dark side was unquestionable. However, if Vader had returned to the light, I believe that he would probably win, especially if he had the aid of other Jedi such as Ahsoka and Kanan Jarrus. As well as this, the Separatists would have the support of many of the galaxy's ex-Separatist worlds who would probably choose to support them, because at this point no one's going to like the Empire. Even ex-Republic worlds who had fought the CIS in the Clone Wars would probably be thinking more that they'd rather join the Confederacy than fight for this Empire that had very obviously manipulated them. But what do you guys think? Could Vader help the Separatists survive and win the war? And would he return to the light side or stay Sith? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, please remember to like, share and sub if you did enjoy, as I'd really appreciate it and it helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter @TheLoreGuy and tick the bell for regular updates. Thanks again for watching, I do hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.